Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of All About Aspen, which is really doubling as another episode of Level Up Lando, a show that takes you inside the struggles, the trials, the tribulations, and the occasional success. That is the everyday challenge of my life as I pursue my never-ending effort of trying to level up. I am your host, Landon Like a Plane, and I'm coming to you from Truscott Studios, also known as my bedroom, right here in lovely Aspen, Colorado. Today is Friday, September 12th at 12:53 p.m. And I am doing another podcast this week. I think you guys have gotten 3 this week because yesterday was a red letter day. Yesterday was a celebration day. I don't want to celebrate too early. We're not in the end zone yet, but we're on the 1-yard line. I have a verbal agreement to get into a monthly retainer with one of the top realtors here in Aspen, number 12 realtor in the country. And we've agreed on $2,000 a month, which is going to be just barely enough for me to cover all of my expenses as far as rent, bills, food for the month. That's around $1,800. So I should have around $200 left over, plus the whole month to generate any other projects. And then any income from those projects is pure profit. So we're not there yet. We're not in the end zone. We can't celebrate too early, but today is, a celebratory day at the end of the day. It's actually, I guess, at the end of the day yesterday. So I was going to sit down and do one yesterday, but I figure I might as well wait to get through the day, and I don't want to celebrate too early. And I don't have the deposit yet. I'm waiting on the deposit. Once I get the deposit, once I got money in my bank account, then we can actually celebrate. But between now and then, we get a little woo, pat on the back. Lando, we're doing it, man. We're doing it. We're making this business successful. So we've got a verbal agreement, and it looks like we're going to get to lock it in hopefully in the next couple of days. I'll get the deposit. It's a 50% deposit, so I'm getting $1,000. And then I've got to go fly one of these properties down in Basalt. So that is a huge piece of news. It's a huge relief. Somebody who struggles on the regular to have potentially steady business month after month. And then in addition to that, I was also able to lock in a deal with Sam over at Silver City Cycles. We're going to be trading services. So I think they're going to hook me up with an e-bike and $1,000 plus a $300 store credit in exchange for me doing some 4 videos for them. So that is also a stellar deal. Coming up on an e-bike, coming up on $1,000, coming up on store credit. We're wheeling and dealing, baby. Aspen Drone Company is in the air. We have got liftoff. We're off the ground, and it looks like we're finally turning a corner with both the business and my financial situation. So that is a win in my world. Another pat on the back for Lando. So that is pretty awesome. The title of this podcast, I had the word hate mail in there, and I forgot to talk about the hate mail that I got on the last episode. So I published an article recently in the Aspen Times talking about how there's 2 faces to Aspen. One is this sort of ritzy, glitzy, glamour, kind of well-to-do, velvet rope, fine dining Aspen version of Aspen. And then there's another Aspen that is caring and generous and considerate and filled with a town of locals that will help you when you need it. And I got hate mail for writing this article. And the hate mail always is interesting to me because people are actually taking the time out of their day to wish me hate. And, as far as my stories go, I personally have some very controversial personal opinions that I more or less keep to myself. I certainly don't write about them in the newspaper. And so if you want to get angry with me and have cause for it, I have a lot of opinions that are, let's just say, controversial. That said, the stories that I write in the newspaper are the opposite of that. I'm trying to write like fun, light, fluff stories that don't take any kind of charged position, whether it's political or about the town or even my own personal view of how the world works. I don't share those things because I'm not trying to be divisive. I'm not trying to create controversy or conflict, even though I personally don't mind and will absolutely have the debate and have the conversation with the people who don't agree with me. That said, I just don't find that those conversations take anybody anywhere. Most of the time, people aren't trying to have their minds changed, they're trying to change your mind. And I find that that's all a waste of time because most people don't change their mind at the end of these debates. Even if good points are made and even if concessions are made, ultimately people go back to thinking whatever they want to think anyway. So for somebody to go out of their way to write to me, to send me hate over a story that really has no grounds to do that is it's something that just kind of makes me laugh and smile. It amuses me about the world that there are people out there that just love to hate no matter what is happening. One of my good friends said, "People can't wait for the next cancel, the next opportunity to cancel somebody. Like they're itching to cancel somebody." And so, in that way, in my my own estimation of what I'm trying to do as far as having my voice be a public voice and sharing some of my thoughts with the world, is I'm going to keep the ones that I find controversial to myself, and we'll really just sort of share and talk about light, easy to digest topics that are ideally fun to read about and make you think. That's how I kind of end my articles. Is I hope my stories make you smile and think. So it's my own small attempt to spread love, and that's the intention: is to spread love and not hate and not division. And yet somehow I still am able to press buttons in people that piss them off. Now, so this guy writes me, and I get this pretty, I don't know, charged hate mail. And so I responded to him, and I wrote something like, "Hey, thanks so much for taking the time to read my stories and take a moment out of your day to share what you think about them. I really appreciate that, even if it's hate mail. So thank you." And he wrote me back and he said, "It wasn't hate mail, it was disgust mail." And I wrote him back and said, "Huh, I've never heard of disgust mail. Thanks for clarifying. I hope you continue to read my stories and you enjoy the ones in the future." And he wrote me back again and said, "I write the authors of these columns all the time and nobody ever responds to me. And I really appreciate the time that you took to respond to me. And I consider that to be a very professional move." He's like, "Most of the time, people don't respond to my emails." I was like, "Yeah, no shit, guy. You're fucking insulting people. Why would they respond to that?" But I did. And I did it in a relatively polite, kind way, although I did point out that he was sharing hate with me. And he clarified that and said it wasn't hate, it was disgust. I jokingly said I've never really heard of a letter that's called disgust mail. And he responded with kindness. He responded, I think, that I turned a hater into a fan. And that was kind of a cool experience. And the reason I'm sharing it is because prior to that email, I figured I had just somebody who doesn't like my opinions or my stories. And after the email exchange, it sounds like he is, pleased with the fact that I took the time to respond to him and that I did so professionally and I didn't really engage with what I would kind of consider to be the bait, which is trying to be, he's trying to make me defensive. He's trying to make me defend my position and sort of argue. And instead, I just give him the benefit of the doubt and let him be the winner. And I don't need to be. And in that exchange, it was interesting to watch somebody sort of turn and go, "Oh, maybe I was a little hateful. And that's not what I wanted to be." And now that he pointed that out to me, I can acknowledge that. So that's sort of what I shared with him. And it was actually a pretty neat exchange. And it makes me feel good about how I conducted myself and how I handled myself, because there was definitely a part of me that wanted to respond with like a nasty email. So that's the hate mail as far as the little title in in the title of the episode goes. And I forgot to talk about that at the end of the last one. So I'm not sure this episode's going to make it to 30 minutes. We shall see. But yeah, what else is going on? Let's see. Charlie Kirk was shot and killed 2 days ago on September 10th. And for those that don't know who he is, he was a Republican, a young Republican. I don't know. I guess you could call him a political commentator. And he would go around to college campuses and talk to the students and kind of push back against a lot of the woke ideology that is being taught on the college campuses. And he was efficient, he was effective. He got students to agree with him and change their minds about what they were being taught and what they thought that they believed, kind of on the fly, on the spot, in front of them. He would have these debates. It was actually pretty impressive, I thought, to watch this guy um, defend his personal beliefs and argue his personal positions against a mob of students who would boo him and shout him down. And over time, slowly started to cheer him and encourage him because they had their positions changed by him. And in a sad turn of events, he was shot and killed while he was speaking on a college campus in Utah. And the reactions to his death have been pretty appalling, in my opinion. A lot of people on the left, a lot of Democrats, have been celebrating him being killed. They've been applauding the political violence because they think that he was evil. They think that he was a racist. They think that he was a misogynist. And I don't really see any of that in him. I didn't see any of that in him. I listened to him, and I definitely didn't agree with everything he had to say. But I really respected the fact that he was doing what I do, which is take on controversial topics and hash them out and defend your position and why you believe what you believe with logic, reason, and then sources, references. And he would do all that. And he had a lot of it memorized. He was a Christian, and he had a lot of these Bible verses memorized that he would then use as references to explain why he arrived at his personal belief. And I thought it was pretty impressive how he was able to do it. And I thought that it was worth commending an individual, whether it's him or not, for standing up to a mob and taking on their argument with, intelligence, really, is what it came down to. And because he was so effective, I believe they killed him. And now to see a lot of my friends who are on the left and it seems to me like they might be slightly blinded. I'm not sure what's going on, but to see them celebrating him being murdered. I mean, he was a father. He had two girls. He was a husband. And to see them celebrating him being murdered, to me, is pretty disgusting. It's pretty appalling to watch my friends sort of delight. Really, it brings them quite a bit of joy that this voice that was pretty effective in converting the youth of America essentially to become right wing was snuffed, and that's what's going on in the country right now. And we won't get too much into that because I try not to be political here, but it is something that happened, and it's pretty revealing of the kinds of character that these people have, that they think that taking delight and joy in the murder of somebody whose opinions they don't agree with is appropriate, that's somehow an okay response. Which, I mean, listen, I'm not saying I'm above it. When Luigi Mangione killed the director of the national health thing, or the pharmaceutical company, or whatever it was, I didn't celebrate that he killed them, but I also didn't feel too badly for that CEO who had made the decision to cut health insurance from Luigi's dad and essentially killed him. So I'm not saying I'm better than these other people. I'm not saying that I'm, like them. I'm just saying I can understand. I've been in a situation myself where maybe I should have had some more sympathy or empathy for the murdering of the CEO of these drug companies or health organizations, and I just didn't. And I wouldn't say that I felt happy, but I didn't feel sad. So I'm not saying I can't relate. I am saying I do think it's disgusting. I do think that it reveals the character of the kind of person that you are when you celebrate a father and a husband being murdered for sharing his opinion that you disagree with. And I guess part of it is that he was really cordial in how he did it. He didn't insult the students. He didn't, name call and character bash. He took their arguments on and he defeated their arguments, which is ultimately why he would convert them, because logic and reason are persuasive. And so to see somebody who is kind of having these debates with good intentions and having these conversations without insulting the character of the people on the other side, I thought was commendable. And so that's where we're at here on September 12th as the day continues to push forward and the country continues to reel from watching somebody who was using their God-given right to free speech be murdered. It was pretty heartbreaking to not just for Charlie and his family and the loss of his life, but for the country and for the culture of America, which is supposed to be the land of the free. But if you're not free to speak your mind, if you're not free to disagree, if you're going to be murdered for having the position that you do, it doesn't feel like we're living in the land of the free. So that's that. What else? It's raining here. We got another gloomy, cold fall day. I got my Croc slippers on, which I got at the thrift store a couple of days ago for $10. So I gotta say, I've never had a pair of Crocs before, but for $10, I rolled the dice on them, and they've got the little like furry lining in them, so they're kind of nice as a slipper. I really do like them. So nice, good job, Crocs, on producing a comfortable shoe. That's kind of doubling for me as a slipper. What else is going on in my world? Let's see here. I'm getting ready to leave town. So I closed this deal on the realtor, and I closed this deal on Silver City Cycles. So that's great. That's a couple grand I've got coming to myself. That should cover October's rent, give me a little breathing room. But I'm also getting ready to go to Las Vegas to celebrate my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. So I am actually pretty thrilled to do that. I've got a little bit of work to get done before then. So hopefully a little later this afternoon, we're going to get into the editing mode. It's so hard for me to edit during the day. It's not even a nice day. It's raining. I'm not even really going to go outside. But still, when it's light out, it's just hard for me to sit down in front of a computer and just kind of plug away. I like to save that activity for the nighttime because I just love to use my day so much. But I got to sit down and get some editing done. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. But that's the plan for the day. Get some editing done. I got done cleaning the apartment, and I'm getting ready to leave town. So I am excited to leave Aspen. It'll be the first time I've left Aspen since Fish in over 4th of July. So over 2 months since I've even really kind of left Aspen. And I'm looking forward to getting out of town, getting into some warmer weather, seeing my family, celebrating my parents. 50 years married. That is, in this day and age, that is a miracle. That is beyond gold medal. That is beyond any sort of awards or accolades doled out by the humans. That is gold medal in the spiritual world. That is gold medal on the metaphysical plane. 50 years with the same person. And I can tell you, as one of their children growing up, it wasn't always rainbows and smiles. There was a lot of contention. There were some times when they were definitely going to get a divorce. And they didn't. And now here they are getting ready to celebrate 50 years together. So that's coming up. I leave town Wednesday. Today's Friday. So I got 5 more days, and then I'm gone. Then I'm out. And that'll be nice. So I'm trying to get ready for that. I'm trying to make sure I've got all my I's dotted and T's crossed to get out of town. I got to check out my wardrobe and my clothes and make sure I've got a bunch of nice stuff to wear. And I've got to try to get this jacket that I have sewed, which I don't know how I'm going to do that. I've got to figure that out. It's not a big sew, but it's the pocket. So we'll see. So. Yeah, and with that, I think that maybe now is a good time to dive into the little green book of accountability here. So let's just take a quick look in here and see what we've got going on. I'm going to turn the page on that. We're going 9, 12, 25. What do we got to do today? We got to edit. We've got mom and dad and some drone footage in there. We've got the podcast that I did with Mitch. We've got to fix the audio on that. Maybe the video on that. And then I've got the Steely Dead footage, which I really do want to get done. They're coming back here in October, so it'd be nice to have their video done for them by then. Let's see. What else do we got to do here? Let's just jump back a little bit. Oh, yeah. We've got the supercut, slow motion, and triple. These are just things that I want to do for my own business so that I have like a different style of video to show my future customers. Let's see. All right. Phone ticket. I looked into that. Ah, the referrals. Okay. What else? What else? Let's see. Website and logo and business cards. It's just taking me forever to get around to that. I gotta get FAA certified again. And the ski pass / Chamber of Commerce. And I gotta organize the memory on my hard drive. All right, that's a nice little list of things that I need to get done. So there you have that. And now, as we're at almost 23 minutes, which is great timing, we're going to take a look at the Daily Stoic, 366 Meditations on Wisdom, Perseverance, and the Art of Living by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman. Thanks, gentlemen, for putting this together. I find it really useful. I hope my audience does as well. So before we jump into this, let me let you into my mind a little bit. So if I'm just being candid with you, the Charlie Kirk thing is on my mind. You know, it's the fact that all these people are celebrating him being murdered it hurts my heart. You know, it bums me out that even my friends, these people who I love and care about, are kind of revealing themselves to be what I consider to be a disgusting version of a human being. And so there's a part of me that feels like hope is lost. There's a part of me that feels like humans are so superficial and shallow that we miss the meaning of being a human and of the human experience and of life. And so I'm feeling a little disappointed in humanity. I'm feeling a little disappointed in America. I'm feeling a little disappointed in my friends. So I guess disappointed is a good way to describe my mental state. That said, I'm still plugging along. I'm still trying to stay optimistic and upbeat. And I just closed a deal yesterday. That's a big deal for me. It's going to hopefully help correct this whole financial situation that I'm in and allow me to start creating on a grander scale, which I am really excited to do. I'm really excited to give back and be of contribution and be of service, and to do that at the level that I believe that I'm capable of getting to, you know, having lots of money and being able to give it away, being able to buy a guy who comes to visit and his family their ski passes for the day, being able to tip a server their entire month's rent in one night, you know, being able to give away whatever I can, whether that's my talent, whether that's my services, whether that's just my loving energy and spirit, in an attempt to be of contribution. So that's what I'm up to, and that's my general kind of state of being. But then on top of that is a disappointment and a sadness and a bit of a broken heart for Charlie Kirk and his family, for the country that I live in and I love, and for my friends who think that by being righteous and by being judgmental, that they are winning, that they are right, that they have the moral high ground. And in my opinion, they not only do they not have that, but they've revealed themselves to be people of weak character. And that's disappointing because they're my friends. So that's where I'm at mentally. Let's see if the Daily Stoic can help flip that around at all. So last time we read on September 9th. Now we're on the 12th. September 12th. Be down to earth or be brought down. Zeno always said that nothing was more unbecoming than putting on airs, especially with the young. Diogenes Laertius, Lives of the Eminent Philosophers 7.1.22. Socrates' famous letter to Demonicus, which later became the inspiration for Polonius's "To thine own self be true" speech, holds a similar warning to Zeno. Writing to the young man, it's I, Socrates, not Socrates. I, Socrates, advises, be affable in your relations with those who approach you, and never haughty, for the pride of the arrogant even slaves can hardly endure. Man. One of the most common tropes in art, from ancient literature to popular movies, is the brash and overconfident young man who is to be taken down a peg by an older, wiser man. It's a cliche because it's a fact of life. People tend to get ahead of themselves, thinking they've got it all figured out and are better than those that don't. It becomes so unpleasant to put up with that someone has to drop some knowledge on them. But this is an entirely avoidable confrontation. If the bubble is never inflated, it won't need to be popped. Overconfidence is a great weakness and a liability. But if you are already humble, no one will need to humble you. And the world is much less likely to have nasty surprises in store for you. If you stay down to earth, no one will need to bring you, oftentimes crushingly so, back down. Wow. So that definitely is hitting the mark for today. I mean, I just got done talking about how my friends are revealing their character because they're overconfident. That's what it is. And it says here that for the pride of the arrogant, even slaves can hardly endure. And that's definitely me. It's hard for me to endure the pride and the arrogance of my friends and the people around the country who believe that they are right to celebrate the murder of this young father and husband because he disagreed with them. And that's what they're doing. And part of that will end with them being brought back down to earth. And that's also part of the reason I like to personally try to stay humble. Humble and grateful. Those are my two places that I try to go. I try to remember better than anybody. And I try to remember that I need to be grateful for even the littlest of things in my life, like the ability to move my fingers and to walk upright and to breathe without apparatus and to eat all of the food that I care to eat except for bananas because I'm allergic to them. And they make my throat itch. But even those I'll eat sometimes. So, I personally choose. It's a choice. It's a mental position that I take, which is stay humble, stay grateful. And after having traveled all over the world and seen a lot of the poverty that exists in the world, it's very easy for me to do that. I know how blessed I am. I know how grateful I need to be for my health, physical, mental, and emotional, and for my life in general. I have, even though it's hard and even though I struggle, my life is a dream come true. I have an amazing life. I am blessed. And those are not things that escape me. I am fully and acutely aware that I am blessed and I am lucky that I don't have to go work in a cobalt mine in the Congo to help make iPhones. You know, I get to sit here on my computer in my amazing apartment and talk my bullshit into the internet. And that is a luxury. I am just blessed and so grateful that I am not one of the children being forced to mine cobalt in the Congo or whatever, what have you. Nepal's on fire. Paris is rioting. Great Britain is pushing back against all the immigration that they have. And I sit here in lovely Aspen, Colorado, and talk about the world that I don't have to live in, and I get to go out and enjoy a world that I do have to live in, and it's an amazing world. So none of that is lost on me. I'm fully aware that I am blessed, and because I am blessed, it allows me to remain humble and stay grateful. And for those two things, I am very grateful. I am very blessed. I am very humble because I'm just lucky. It's pure luck that I wasn't born to be a child working in a cobalt mine. So I don't take that for granted, and I try my best to shine my light and be loving and be kind, you know. And it's interesting to me that other people on their own individual journey choose to be unkind, choose to be righteous, choose to be judgmental. And in my opinion, that's largely tied to the fact that they're ignorant, that they're unenlightened, and that they believe that them being right somehow is the better way, the better path to go down in life than to be humble. And as somebody who loves to be right and has spent a lot of time in his life fighting to be right, I can tell you that you're not right. And no matter how right you are, even if you're right, you're still a human being. Your life is still relatively insignificant. 10,000 years from now, nobody is going to care that you were right and that, you know, we're all just dust in the wind. And so all of your opinions, all of your values, all of the things that you think that make you better than other people, you're just wrong, and none of it matters. And so at the end of the day, that leaves me in a place where, if that's true, which I believe it is, then my main mission in life is to love and to be kind and to be of contribution and service and to help other people, because that's what feels the best. That's what is the, in a world where your life means nothing, you might as well be kind. You might as well spread joy and love and laughter and light. Because at the end of the day, if you choose to embody darkness, it's more or less a life wasted. And the fact that we are alive, the fact that we are breathing, the fact that we've been given the miracle of this human experience and of life is, to me, a really sad thing to squander, a really sad thing to use in a way that doesn't benefit other people, and to be selfish and to be driven by ego. And so we all are. That's the nature of how we're set up, and that's the nature of the design. But inside the nature of the design is the ability to rise up, is the ability to level up, as I'm trying to do. And so to see these people who I consider my friends and who I love and care for choose hate and righteousness and ego over love and humility and spirit, it's just disappointing. But that's my own judgment. And at the end of the day, life unfolds perfectly. It couldn't go any other way than the way that it's going. And I believe that the universe is conspiring in my favor. And so if the universe decides that this is how America needs to respond to Charlie Kirk's murder, so be it. There's only one person in this world that I can control, and that's myself. And so all of you out there who are choosing to embrace hate, I bless you on your path. I have no control over what you decide to do. I can only control what I do. And what I choose to do is be loving and to be kind and to forgive. And it's not always easy. And a lot of times I want to be right. And a lot of times I want to embrace hate. And a lot of times I want to be driven by my ego. And it takes a major effort on my part to not just give in to that. So that's where we're going to leave you. We're going to leave you with this idea that there's only one person you can control, and it's yourself. And how you show up in the world is up to you. And so don't let other people push your buttons. Don't let other people provoke reactions from you that you do not consciously want to allow to come out. You are in control. And just like the Daily Stoic suggests, if you decide to be overconfident and you decide to be arrogant, the world has a beautiful way of bringing you back down to earth, and it's usually humbling. So, you know, with pride comes the fall. And so, for all of you out there being pride filled, just know that that's temporary. And your arrogance is going to elevate you to a point that you then now need to be brought back down to reality. So as long as you know that going forward, be as arrogant as you choose to be. Rise as high up as you want, because the fall comes after. And the higher you rise, the longer the fall, the harder the fall, the more painful the fall. And I'm speaking as somebody who's been very arrogant at times in his life and had to endure that fall. So I'm speaking from a place of love and kindness, and a place of I'm wishing you the intelligence and the enlightenment to spare your own self that pain. So with that, with a big loving heart and a mind and head full of humility, I wish you well on this day. I hope that you're able to find your own way to becoming humble and grateful. And if you choose not to be, I wish you well on that journey as well. I hope that the twists, the turns, and the stumbles and falls that you take are not too much for you to bear. And so with that, I'm your host, landing like a plane, and I'm taking off.